It finished up 43-25, and the Crusaders pick up the first try bonus point of the season out of any of the teams. Hi, I'm Paul, guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion, and thank you for joining me on this post-match reaction to this game. Kicked off this game with the Tars making errors, players stepping out on the and picking the ball up with one foot out in touch, and silly things like that, which didn't help themselves. Very little rust shown by the Crusaders early on. We saw Jack Goodhue chipping over from his own goal line, and the Crusaders breaking into the Tars half. So yeah, this is a team under Scott Robinson that doesn't start slowly. It's something that we had as there was a Blackadder era thing, was that the Crusaders started slowly, but that's something that Scott Robinson has got rid of. Why? Because he wants to have home field advantage for the finals. He doesn't want to have to go away for that final, which is what he found Blackadder was doing. And that's why probably Blackadder, the difference between Blackadder and Scott Robinson, as in picking up titles. So I think no rust from that. Interesting. Mwanga got hit early, had some big strapping on his knee, so Havili stepped up to the kicking duties for the Crusaders. I don't think many of us probably had Havili down as being top point scorer of the season, and I don't think he will be. But yeah, one of those fun tweets to put out during the game. And the Tars were looking to get Curly Beale into space early on. I think a relatively good job of it. But and when we come to talk about stats later, you'll see he's one of the top meter makers in the game. But his decision making was left wanting. Let's be honest. There were times where he had players free on the inside and being cut off on the outside, but the pass still went outside, butchered some opportunities. So yeah, Curly Beale's decision making didn't go so well. Harrison, on the other hand, who the young guy who came in at 10 for the Waratahs, he had an okay game, and it was a good one for. It was good to see him have a good game, because it means all that talk of Curly Beale coming in and playing 10 for the Waratahs has gone, which I think is a good thing. If he's your answer, you're asking the wrong questions there. Can Will Harrison improve? Absolutely can, but yeah, not a bad first outing for him. And whilst we're talking early on here about some of the positives to the Tars, because obviously they got beaten quite convincingly in this one, another young guy out on the right-hand side who played well was, on the left-hand wing, Noah Quanatasi, something like that, sorry, one of the longest names in Super Rugby, and as Michael Pullman put on Twitter, yeah, the worst name in Super Rugby for live tweeters and live typing commentators. He came on and got and scored a couple of decent tries in the first half. Kept himself available when Curly Beale was breaking down that side, but was often shut down. But yeah, showed himself to have a good game overall. Kicking needs to be worked on, but otherwise he had a good game. So there's some good signs here for the Waratahs. Now, hi guys in the live chat. Some comments there about the rest of the Australia Conference, and I'll get onto that afterwards. I'm going to talk about first. I'm going to talk about the Crusaders versus the Waratahs. Then we'll go back and we'll check in on the other games. Last night I've already done a show about the Blues versus the Chiefs. I'll touch on the Brumbies Reds, the Sharks Bulls, and also the Sunwolves versus Rebels. Amazing result there. So I'll come back to that later. And for the first sort of 20 odd minutes, the Tars were in this one, which I guess is kind of classic Crusaders, isn't it? They got, I said, they were looking slick, they were looking good, but it really was that last 20 minutes before half time where they shifted gears and became really clinical and scored a couple of tries. Also, one of the controversial things that we'll have talked about this weekend is going to be forward passes, because the Tars made a break and the number 9 and he got his hands free and rolled his left hand over the top of the ball, and so hence the commentary like, oh, his hands are going backwards. Well, one hand was going backwards, the other hand underneath was going forwards, and the ball, I think, actually went forwards. The left ball definitely went forwards. I think it also came forwards out of his hands. But that's but we then had the game earlier today where we had a Rebels try allowed, where the ball again clearly went forwards, but they said, oh, came out the hands backwards. Now, as a kind of casual fan, How are you supposed to understand these laws? They're just making them overly complicated and making this game harder for teams to get into, harder for fans to get into. You know what? The laws say you cannot pass the ball forwards. So you know what? If the ball goes forwards, then just call it a forward pass. There's all this momentum stuff people talk about. Well, you know what? Throw the ball further backwards then. If momentum's going to make it go forwards, just throw it further backwards in the first place. That's my opinion. I'm sure a lot of others will have different ones. But anyway, that try was disallowed. I thought correctly. The commentators weren't. They were Kiwi commentators. Didn't agree. Leicester Fanauku, new player, plays really well for Tasman, and this game was held in Nelson, Tasman's home ground. Leicester had a really good game today. Showed his strength and power from a crossfield kick to score a try and take it out 24-6. That after the overthrow where Beale got caught and isolated were the two of the tries that made that big gap, made that gap of 24-6 at half time. Coming out, I talked already about the new boy Nakakakwain Wasi. He got those 2 tries to make it down to a 1-score game. Beale butchering that thing, but then that's when the Crusaders switched into gear. They were looking disjointed then. We'd see the problem was for them and is that they lost Mwanga, and they also had lost we also saw Goodhue go off as well. So we had Brett Cameron in at 10. Havili had to move from 15 into 12. We had Seven Rees on the wing, which meant that gone blank, which the winger had to move to fullback. And you've got all these players moving around. And it took a while for the Crusaders to gel and to be in the right place. So a couple of passes were going behind players, hitting grass. They were still all doing that running and stuff. And Paul Williams mentioned, put a tweet out saying that Crusaders make rugby look easy. The reason they make rugby look easy is because they're running for each other. The thing that the Crusaders did really, really well in that opening try for Braden Ennor, when Beale was I said they kept the ball alive. You can only keep the ball alive if you've got runners who are there in support. You're expecting them to be there, so you look up to find them and you pop the ball up. But there's a lot of work off the ball by a lot of players in this Crusaders side that allow that to happen, and that's really why they make it look easy. I got to say that's why it is, because there's a lot of running off the ball for people. The difference between them and the Waratahs is quite often they'll be throwing that pass, that offload, without looking, and then the player's not there and it goes to ground and it misses. Whereas with the Crusaders, they look, then they throw it. But they're throwing similar passes. They just make sure there's someone there first. So yeah, they got pulled back to 24-18 just before the hour mark. But the Crusaders came straight back and struck. Braden Ennor off the back of a ruck on the 5 metre line goes over. If you've got backs who are going over from that distance out, basically you know your defence is not connected enough. The pillar had to go with the scrum half who'd made I think it was Bryn Hall at that point, who took a step, and then the next defender out in that number 1 channel needed to be closer in. He wasn't closer in and couldn't take Braden Ennor at pace. And defence was really what let the Tars down in this game. Defence and turnovers. So they had that one. Then Luke Romano scored another one. But it was all about keeping that ball alive is what was really good by the Crusaders today. On the Tars side, look, making only 79% of your tackles. You're gonna now. It's hard when the ball is being kept alive. You've got to try and wrap that ball up a lot better. But even so, missing something like 33 tackles in a game against the Crusaders, it's going to hurt you. Then turning the ball over 22 times to just 14 by the Crusaders, when you've had less of the ball, is also criminal. Put bluntly, this Crusaders side does not have a back row of Todd, Kieran Reid, etc. They've got a couple of young guys in there. Now, they did okay against Hooper, etc., but they shouldn't be allowed to cause that many turnovers. So a lot of those turnovers actually were knock-ons. But yeah, so when you've got Sanders, Christie, Fetu Douglas That is not a back row that you're looking that should scare you in the same way that Crusaders back rows have done in the past. Swinton, Hooper, Holloway, I mean, they did okay at the breakdown, but it was knock-ons and other turnovers that caused the problems. A couple of players who are going to get some going to get called up and have talkings to by their coaches. Players like Swinton, turnovers 3, and Fetty Douglas, who turned the ball over 4 times, two back rows. Swinton only ran it 8 times for those 3 turnovers. Fetty Douglas ran it 8 times, those 4 turnovers. Those guys really need to get better at holding onto that ball and retaining it. Those two, I say, are going to have some problems. And when I'm talking about those defensive issues by the Waratahs, it was in their back line. So you're looking at Curtly Beale missed 4, Newsom missed. Curtly Beale missed a couple, Newsom missed a couple, Fichetti missed 3, Hunt a couple, Nakawata, Tassitz missed 3, Harrison missed 4, Gordon missed 3. It was mainly in the backs, not in the forwards, with the exception of Michael Hooper. But Michael Hooper made 15 tackles. He made more than anybody else in this game, so you can excuse him missing a few more than others. That meant every one of those players in that back line for the Waratahs were missing tackles. That means that there's a lot of confidence then from the support runners by the Crusaders to run those support lines, because they know there's a good chance that that first tackle is going to be broken and they're going to get the ball. And that's why you've got players like David Havili, defenders beaten 9. That's 9 tackles he's broken there. Will Jordan 4. Goodhue and Lester Fianawaku also with 4 each. So all those backs managed to get themselves breaking tackles, and therefore which helps them get that front foot ball and helps them get those offloads away. So folks, if you're playing the Crusaders, that front foot ball is obviously important because your back line's got to defend well. That means they've got to be connected, and that wasn't there today from this Waratahs side. Some nice stuff, as I say, from the Waratahs, particularly in those new guys there. So there is something to build on. Sonny Forthorse had a decent game, disrupted mauls, etc. From the Crusaders' point of view, they'll be quite happy with those loosies that they managed to do okay today, and they also scrummed pretty well as well. Even though, let's be honest, the Tars scrum is not one of the stronger ones. When the Tars started chasing the game, one of their problems also was they were not waiting to get front foot ball. They were just spinning it wide and expecting some magic from those players. They got sometimes, but they needed that front foot ball more. So that's my take on this one. Crusaders obviously on their way to their next title. Quick summing up of what else has happened this weekend. Last night, the Blues versus the Chiefs. Blues very one-dimensional, very one-dimensional. One-out balls meant they got to retain the ball pretty well, but it meant that after the Chiefs had a chat at half-time, they figured out how to stop them, and then came back and won the game. You'll see there's some stats out there from on Twitter that I had a chat with Ryan from the Triumph Sports app about how many times the Blues have lost games in the second half. This was another one. It's because they don't show more than one picture, and opposition coaches can fix things at half time. And Warren Gatland did that with the Chiefs extremely well. We followed that with the Brumbies versus the Reds. The Brumbies really dominated this one, but too many errors meant that they weren't putting the scores on the points on the board. The Reds a real mess early on. Managed to get things together, take a lead, but ended up coming up short against the Brumbies side. And just too many errors in that game. We had the Sharks versus, but remember that was in 40 degrees heat in Canberra, which was just too hot for rugby. Let's be honest. And here I am drinking a summer ale. Look, they shouldn't be able to buy this in the shops. It's supposed to be winter, folks. It's a winter sport. So, Sharks versus the Bulls. Again, shouldn't be playing in Durban this time of year. The humidity was in the 80s, and that led to a lot of very slippery ball. And that also led to 76 kicks from hand. Let's compare that. Blues versus the Chiefs, 31 kicks. Brumbies versus the Reds, 30 kicks. More than twice as many, 1.5 times as many kicks in that game. 2.5 times as many kicks in that game in South Africa because of the conditions. Not because it's South African teams, but because of the conditions. And that really meant that it was a problem. Sharks, 5 changes on exactly 60 minutes. Boy, are they playing, is that coaching by numbers or what in the end there. And Sharks, won this one really at the breakdown, I think. Came back and won that one 23-15. Finally, Sunwolves versus Rebels, 36-27. Really did not see this one coming. Sunwolves only had 3 weeks together, folks. But they looked like the team that had had a whole pre-season. Not the Rebels. The Rebels looked like the team that only had 3 weeks. Rebels were shambles early on, messing up line-outs, etc. Their set-piece coach really should be looking for a new job. He really struggled. They really struggled there today. Looking at the rest of this one. Simon thinks that maybe the Jaguares are odds on for winning Super Rugby. Maybe they will do, but I'm saying Crusaders made a good start to their campaign. We'll see how the Jaguares go tomorrow. I'll be live straight after that game as well, so do join me back on the channel. Don't forget, down below, hit subscribe, hit the bell, don't miss that show. I'll be live straight after that game. Also, by the way, since we're talking, head over to DrivingMaul.com. That's where you can get access to my predictions around Super Rugby. Also, exclusive videos and articles for my supporters. You can become a supporter for as little as $1 a month over on there, so do head over to there. There's a lot of free stuff on there, public stuff on there as well, so do head over to DrivingMaul.com, please. So yeah, the Sunwolves only had 3 weeks prep. Rebels looked like the team that had 3 weeks prep. Here was the Rebels only went for 5+ phases about twice, and that's when they kind of did well and scored. They didn't have the ball for the first 10 minutes. What does Dame Hell and Petty do as soon as he gets it? He puts a grubber through in the 22. You're like, mate, seriously, hold on to the ball. You've only had 3 phases in the first 10 minutes, and you go and get rid of it. Really, just really infuriating. The Rebels just kept doing the same thing over and over again, even though it wasn't working. In the second half, we had a chip over that gone blank at the 15 for Sunwolves, collected, ran it all the way back and scored. Okay, eventually they did get one kick over that led to a try, but they'd already butchered it for 3-4 times before they did that. So, okay, hat tip to Rebels, you're persistent. You're persistent at doing stuff that doesn't work. You need to be able to change it up. The Sunwolves really looked like a team here that have come together. They've been asked to play footy in a style they like to play. They were having fun. 2, they're here to prove something. These are all the guys that nobody else wants to hire. Let's be honest. 3, they've got nothing to lose, and that style of play really was fun to watch, and they pulled it off today against a team that's actually met each other and knows each other's names. They're going to struggle. They're going to find it harder to do that. The Rebels really were a shambles today. Even when they had like 5-meter lineups, they managed to engineer obstruction calls against them when their lineup ball was going over. So yeah, the Sunwolves did run out of steam towards the end, the last sort of 10 or so minutes, but they've got the points in the bag already to win the game. The Rebels did come back. So fitness is going to be a bit of an issue for the Sunwolves team. No surprise. They've had 3 weeks pre-season. They've had no time for conditioning. They've just had to learn moves and get to know each other. So unsurprisingly, they're not conditioned as well as other sides. So they're going to struggle down the stretch, I think. But really fun to watch now. And everybody, let's make them our second favourite team. We know they're not going to live to the end of the season, and then they're gone. So thank you everybody for joining me. So that's a summary so far of what's happened in Super Rugby this weekend. I'm going to be live straight after Wales versus Italy and Ireland versus Scotland tonight. So do join me straight after those games for post-match reaction. I've got Nix joining me after the first game, and then I've got Stephen Harris joining me after the second game. So it won't just be me talking. And then tomorrow, Jaguares versus Lions. I'll be live straight after that game as well. So do join me for that. As I say, down below, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon as well, so you get notifications when I go live. But it's pretty much straight after the game. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you've enjoyed this weekend's rugby. Don't forget, DrivingMaul.com. Head over there for all your predictions and other shows as well. And have a great weekend.